Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm so excited to be here. I'm DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fabulous co-host right here,
Eddie Nicholas, Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. Boom, 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 boom. What do you got for us today, Adam?
Oh, man, I have so many pieces that I want to talk about, but I first have to remind our listeners that when you're tuned in to the Freedom Radio Hour, not only do you get really fantastic music, but you also get some information. Here at the Freedom Radio Hour, we love to give you the latest in music business news and trends from around the world. But before I start, I have to answer one of our viewers. We got a feedback from someone who said,
okay, really?
Yeah, they loved that that we were talking about. If you remember last week, we were talking about merchandising, things you can do it yourself, or DIY as we call it. Things you can do on your own for little to no money, and start to generate some income around your music, your label, your logo, whatever it is. So we were suggesting cafepress.com. And at cafepress.com, you can place your own logo and then pick items and put your logo on them, like a t-shirt or a bag or a mouse pad or whatever.
A mug.
Yeah,
all that type of
yeah,
stuff.
all that kind of stuff, right? So our viewer was saying, we love that you were mentioning that. I do have a Cafe Press account, and I put up a design, and nobody's buying my design. I've had my store up for a long time. So it made me think about two different things that I want to share with you. The first thing is, to this viewer, I want to say, okay, coming from my graphic design background, does your design look whack? You know, because sometimes it'll be like tiny, or it'll look real kind of pixelated, real messed up looking.
Yeah, it has to be something that jumps out at you.
Yes.
Color, the picture, the message that the picture is sending out, a whole lot of things.
Yes, exactly. And like if you were at a mall or somewhere at a shop and you spotted it, is that something that you would say, I gotta have that? You know, those are the kind of questions you should ask yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I really wanted to talk about how the genre of music that you're into affects your merchandise sales. I came across a great article at Digital Music News. You know, I love Digital Music News. They're another great resource for all this that we're talking about. And anyway, they had this data, this report that came out that said what the latest data shows about genres in terms of merchandise and t-shirt sales. So
They just kill me about this word data. So what does the latest data have to say?
But why you got to say it all foo-foo, she like?
The data. The data.
Well, what basically the data is saying is that in terms of genres of music, what's faring the most? What's selling the most of t-shirts? And we've probably talked about this before, but the biggest seller is no surprise is rock music.
That does never surprise me. Never surprises me. Rock music is one of the biggest exports that we have here from the United States.
Exactly.
And
but
those t-shirts sell in the millions.
Exactly right. And you know that here in the U.S., another big market that they noted in the report was how well country music t-shirt sales were doing. So I'm like, okay, that kind of, you know, here in the States, Nashville is like a mecca for country music. And country music, back in the day, used to be kind of like on the periphery. And now it's become akin to popular music now. You know, now country music is sounding
so
like...
close together. They're so meshed nowadays.
Exactly. So they were talking about this data that we were talking about has rock music and country music up at the top, you know, but of course we love our house music. We like it soulful with vocals. We love that funky soul sound. And I had to see how we fared on this list, and it looks like we were about 4%, just under 5% of the market we were taking up. So that's nothing.
Now, before you even go that far, what will we categorize under? Because you know these categories, I'm quite sure we were not under soulful house music.
No, we were not. We were under electronic dance. Like last
EDM.
week. Yes, last week we were, what were we? House music. And now we're electronic dance.
Dance music.
Yes, well, whatever that's the category that we're under for this week. You know, we always laugh about that because who's to say what is what, you know? But all they're talking about house, rock music and country is really faring the best, and our little house music is not doing so well. So viewer, if you're out there selling a t-shirt about some house music, maybe you should change your genre. You don't have to change what you're into. Maybe sell different shirts that are outside of the genre of music that you're into. Something to ponder. You know what? So I really wanted to talk about that, but I also wanted to talk about so much news around music and what we do about all this plummeting sales that we're seeing. You know, I came across a great article from the founder of Shazam. You know Shazam, you have that on your phone? Where if you're at a club or something, you could pop it in and hit go listen, and it tells you what the song is a lot of the time. So we want to talk about that and more, but we want to take a break right now at Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. See you
Boom, boom, boom. See you in about 10 minutes.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
Welcome back to Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. Adam, before we left, we were talking about Shazam. Now, I know a little bit about Shazam. That's the one that identifies songs. If you hold the song up to the whatever.
Yeah, like if you're at a club or somewhere and you basically, hit listen. It'll do its thing for about 30 seconds, and it more times than not will tell you what the track is, which is really helpful. And it even has a buy link right from the phone. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so what the founder of Shazam, Philippe Inghelbrecht, he wrote an article where he talks about the future of music and how, remember last week we were talking about U2 and all the trouble they had with their Songs of Innocence album. He's saying that iTunes and U2 and all of that is just the beginning and we should brace ourselves. He really had some great tidbits of information. He had 3 main points, 2 of which I agree with and 1 I was just vehemently disagreeing with. One thing he was talking about how in 1999 the value of the music industry was at like 38 billion or something crazy like that, and then come now in 2011 the reports come back that we're less than half of that. We're at like 16 billion.
That does not surprise me when you're selling songs for 99 cents, at a drop of a dime. How the heck is anybody making any type of money?
That's crazy. The way I feel about it too. He made a really great point that was, that value that in 1999 to say that we were worth, the music business was worth 38 billion. That was really fishy because at that time, LP and CD were starting to morph. So people that had a certain song or an album on LP, they were buying it again on CD. So it gave the impression that the music business was booming when it was just the consumer rebuying the product,
repackaging of the merchandise.
Yeah, in a different way, So he said that kind of gave it a false foundation. People valued it too high because of that. So of course we're all gagging at this like less than half value, by 2011. But that's the way of the business, But this other thing he was talking about that I really just disagree with. I found it fascinating. He was talking about how in movies and TV, they do this thing called windowing. Windowing of exclusivities. I was like, what is that? It's basically a term that they use in the movie and TV world where they package the goods over and over again. You know how when you go to the movies, you could only go to the theaters for a certain time, right? And after the theaters, it comes out like on DVD. After the DVD, then it might come out on like a Netflix on demand. And then finally, it'll trickle down to like a made-for-TV version. You got to sit through the commercials and such. But that process where we're seeing it over and over again, it's called windowing. And he's saying that why are we doing that in music? Where we would basically put out music like through one territory or through one medium for a while and then let it trickle down to the others. My thing is that I like the concept in theory, but my biggest issue with Mr. Inghelbrecht is that I think he's missing the part that you talked about earlier. We had no business valuing our music when it became digital at 99 cents a track.
Exactly.
So there's no way that we could apply that kind of theory when we have devalued our industry so badly that we can't even
exactly.
Do the same
and you sit back and you look at our organizations like ASCAP, CSAC, and yes, they were all fighting for the rights of owners to get paid, but at the same token, they also allowed that 99 cent and 75 cent and those dollar costs slip through without making much fuss. And now we do find ourselves now trying to find out how we can repackage and put our music back out there. The guy from Shazam, he makes a valid point, but first of all, we got to put our music in those vehicles that allow us to be able to window. So first of all, us both as songwriters, we got to write a song and find out how to get that into a movie to be able to do that windowing effect, from here to here to here. Hip hop, as quiet as it's kept, now it's not even quiet. They've been doing that.
That's right. And I was kind of thinking that in house music, we kind of do that too, where how we'll put out something on say TrackSource only for a while, and then we'll put it out on the rest of the sites, iTunes and the others after that. Isn't that windowing?
Well, it probably can be, but at the same token, when you're making reference to windowing as the guy from Shazam has made reference to windowing, it sounds like it's repackaging and putting it in different modes of shipment and placement in the people's hands.
That's right. And we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about more of that and more right here at the Freedom Radio Hour.
Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
Welcome back, Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. I'm your host, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm here with my partner,
DJ Adam Cruz, and we're so excited to be here. So now we were talking about windowing, which is this technique that we were referencing an article written by Philip Inghelbrecht. He's the founder of Shazam. You know, that device that detects the music for you, tells you what it is? When he wrote this piece that I was really fascinated by, he talked about how in the movie and TV worlds, they use a process called windowing so that they can take full advantage and get the most profit out of, say, a movie release. So it'll come out on theaters first, then DVD, then cable, then Netflix, and it'll trickle down. But it's coming out over and over again. He was arguing that why don't we do that in music? I was saying, I think that's a great idea, except that we've already cut ourselves off at the knee when we digitized the music and allowed the computer companies to dictate the price, which Eddie pointed out was at 99 cents. At that point, we can't do any kind of windowing because we've already devalued our music so badly that it doesn't even work. It doesn't even, it's not even worth us taking on an experiment like this, you know? But I was really fascinated by that kind of article because I think we can really start to understand and have real talks about how this works. Because you know what? Shout out to Philippe, because I think we ought to be having conversations like this, because one day somebody's going to make these connections and then we're going to say, you know what, that does work. You know what I'm saying? Like, one thing that I know we aren't talking enough about is how in niche market music, like in house music, we're talking about pennies on the dollar.
Pennies, and you got that right. Pennies, 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 pennies.
That's right. We're talking about really trying to make a business out of niche market music. It becomes really challenging. I know people hate when I use that kind of word because they say our music's everywhere. You know, I know Jennifer Hudson. I played her track "It's Your World" earlier in the mix.
But Jennifer Hudson is an R&B singer. No
Right.
matter how you look at it, she's an R&B singer.
Dipping her toe
Period.
into
Dipping
the house
her
world.
toe in the house world. And the only reason why she's dipping her toe is because, and I give my props to Wayne Williams. And who was the other? Terry Hunter?
Terry Hunter, that's
So I give my props to them because, you know, they've taken on that, and she's an artist that agreed to do it. And R. Kelly ripped it too now. But again, we're talking about windowing.
But you know why? You know why that's important to say? Because I argue that windowing happens in a lot of different ways. The way that Jennifer Hudson, who is an R&B music star, has transitioned into this house track or whatever. To me, that's kind of windowing, taking her package and putting it in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. That, and matter of fact, you're right. That is windowing when you actually think of it, because she's an R&B singer. They have dipped her, molded that song, and crafted it for the dance floor, specifically for the dance floor.
And if you think about it from a business perspective, you have our hardcore R&B fans that are going to buy her stuff because they love R&B music and they love her. And then now you have our house music lovers that are going to look at Jennifer Hudson, who we already know can sing her face off, has tied herself up with not only a great house record, but one of our own. And Wayne
Two of
Williams
our own.
and Terry Hunter, two of our own. That's right. So I think it makes us want to, it makes it appealing for us to want to buy her music. You know, and certainly for me as a DJ, I wanted to play her track because I like that combination.
And it also makes me think, how can we, in the dance world, because I know as a dance artist myself, I hardly ever think about taking one of my dance songs and doing an R&B mix.
Right, the other way.
The other way,
That's
exactly.
right.
The other way, doing it windowing that way, because
right.
it's still windowing, placing our music in a different market, in a different mode to be put out.
Right. I bet you Philip Inghelbrecht would disagree with our notion that we're applying this windowing experiment and this notion with this other things. But you know what? It isn't that far-fetched because all we're doing is giving people the chance to buy the product in a lot of different ways, right? Isn't that what remix
And Marcus
about?
said some of us would not even probably think about doing, because I'm quite sure when Jennifer Hudson went to do that song, she was not thinking about, well, how is this going to affect my R&B folks? She was probably thinking, well, now I got another whole market.
Well, we're going to talk about that and more. We have one more piece that we want to bring up to you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in here. Freedom Radio Hour, y'all.
Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. Boom, 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 boom.
Freedom Radio Hour.
Welcome back, Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. Well, Adam, we're about to tie up the show, but, I just like to ask the audience, what do they think about the show today, and what questions do they have or that they will come up with that can kind of help us all to find out how we can actually do some type of windowing effect ourselves in order to get our music out there. Not only the windowing, but again, the marketing, the t-shirts, the mugs, all of that stuff. We talked about 2 of those topics today. Let's just wind it up in a nutshell.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I'm really happy to be here and giving you all this information. Definitely check out freedomradiohour.com and eddienicholas.com for all the latest and greatest. And of course, sound off. Leave us a comment under everything that we're posting. Have a great week, y'all. A great weekend. We'll see you next time.
See you next. Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the heartbeat of Sudan. Heartbeat. You make me feel so sweet. Boom, 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 boom. Adam Cruz, Eddie Nicholas.
Peace.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, 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 oh. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, 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 oh. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh.